show. This is the Started Up show that comes to every Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Usually we run through startups and how people can start in, basically we're looking at low-hanging fruits, things and skills you can get, develop, and start making and earning something for yourself in the nearest future. I have with me in the studio my guest. His name is Oluwatobi Olushola. He's the brand and communications designer, Tingtal. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so basically we're talking about graphic design today. Graphic design is a very broad subject, but we'll try. Olushola will try and simplify it for us. So please start with us. What is graphic design?
Okay, so in simple words, graphic design is the art of solving problems and communicating using visual elements. And those visual elements include images, typography, which is called text, colors, lines, shapes, and the rest. So whenever I use visual elements to communicate or to solve a problem, that in itself, in simplified form, is graphic design.
Okay, so behind you there's an AC.
For you to get that information,
the sign of a crescent moon with a star. Oh, that's graphic design in there, telling me certain things.
Yes, so times without a third party.
Without a third party?
Yes.
Okay, so one should be able to interpret it.
Yes, you should be able to, yes.
So your job also is to simplify it.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Okay, so let me start with you, since you're in this sphere already. What inspired you to become a graphic designer, and how did you get started in the field?
Okay, so from a very young age, I've been in love with comics. Super Strikers at the time, and every other comic book, and I've always been fascinated about how I just see colors, just see shapes, just see different things, and how you're able to understand them now, integrating them into what happens around society. Then growing up, we started receiving flyers when we work on the road. People hand you flyers, and when people hand you flyers, either companies or product or brochures, you when you read it, you understand what it is. So I'm fascinated by all that. So, but I had no idea about how it was done. So it was in my university. I was living with a guy who, at the time, was a designer, and he was working on a product for a company. And it seemed like magic to me when he was holding a flyer in his hand, and the next I was seeing the flyer on his system. Right, it was like I was how did he take the flyer from his hand to his system? It was like looking exactly the same. So that basically was my urge to get into it. And so how I started, I was living with him at the time. So I started by observing. So I would look at what he had done, try to keep it in my memory as long as I could. So at night when he slept, because I didn't have a laptop at the time, so I tried to replicate everything he had done to the best of my knowledge, and I did that for a while till I started getting a hangover, how it was done, what should be done, and basically doing everything that basically has to do with putting colors, shapes together, and coming up with what is called a design. What for myself at the time.
What tools were you using? Did he teach you how to use these tools?
Funny enough, that was the time when I didn't really love asking questions. So I love to observe. So I tried to find that on my own. So I was using CorelDRAW at the time. I started with Photoshop 7, and was either using CorelDRAW. I think CorelDRAW 7 at the time. So CorelDRAW and Photoshop. I didn't know what it was meant for, but I knew Photoshop they use it for pictures. So I learned cutting images, changing backgrounds. I tell people that have passport, change my background to white, change it to red. I love doing that. Then to CorelDRAW, I started learning how to manipulate shapes and do some little construction. I started then reconstructing my church's logo. Our church logo, I tried to reconstruct it to the base. So the first day I could do that, it was like Grammy Award for me.
You understand the feeling. Okay, so I would have asked you. So you've already told us what inspired you. You saw someone move something physical to something virtual.
Yeah.
And you're obviously fascinated by shapes, colors, and stuff like that. So for someone that is just starting out, what fundamental skills do you think are crucial to becoming a graphic designer?
Okay, so for fundamental skills, I'll start with the soft ones. The first thing the person needs to understand is what graphic design is, essentially the purpose of graphic design, because that is the bane of everything that we do. So once you understand what graphic design is, the purpose of it, then the next things you need to understand are that the tools you need to be able to make, because the tools are just means of producing what you understand. So you need to understand what graphic design is, you understand the tools you need. Then two important things, and in understanding what graphic design is, you definitely encounter the elements and the principles. Those two are very key, because I
Elements,
believe,
principles.
yes, I believe you understand. If you understand the elements and the principles, you can work with any tool, because the tool is just a means to our expression, right? But once you understand the elements, you understand the principles, how it is done, what not should be done, and what should be used to do a certain thing, whatever tool you find yourself on will be easier for you to grasp in no time.
Okay. Is it important for graphic designers to understand colors?
Yes, very very important. Colors is one of the elements, one of the elements of design. One of the things that is used to communicate. Right. Okay. So we have different age groups. So the colors that appeal to the elder ones isn't the same color that appeal to the youth. Isn't the same color that appeal to children. Children's colors are always, children love fancy colors. A lot of yellows, red, blues, and all that. But the elderly ones prefer the cool colors. So you see them going with a lot of the greens, a lot of the grays, the dark green. So colors is very important to understand, because when you understand what color does, how it communicates, the emotions behind it, then you understand who to use it for, when to use it, and how to use it.
So if for example you have a client who knows too much, and the client doesn't know what you know, the client wants to design something for the elderly, but you're as a professional, you already know the colors have to be more on the softer side.
Yeah.
But he's telling you, no, I need this. How do you settle such a score?
Okay, so there's something we call client education and design, and this is where, because you would encounter people who don't know, or people who think they know, or people there's people that have half knowledge. So the first thing you do there is you try to put the focus of the client on who they are trying to serve, because at the end of the day, it's primarily about who you're trying to serve, not who you are yourself. So you might like something in a certain way, you might like some combinations of colors, but the essential is who you're trying to serve. Because if you create whatever design, whatever product it is, and your audience, they can't understand, they can't interpret, it's not appealing to them, then it's a failed design. So at that point, you get the client to understand that, okay, so since we're designing for the elderly, this is what will suit them, this is what will appeal to them, this is what would attract them and make them come attracted, or make them use whatever it is you are putting out there. So when the understanding is settled, then we can, when it's settled, then we can now come down to, okay, so looking at the, since we've agreed on this, then these are the colors that can help us achieve this communication. Because at the end of the day, communication, if it's not received by the end user, it's not complete. So client education in that piece is very important, to help the client understand that it's not about you, it's about those you are trying to serve.
I understand what you mean. And prayerfully, God will bring us those kind of clients that will understand at the end of the day. So you shared with us some of your story, your startup story. You were in university, obviously studying something else.
Yes.
And then you fell in love with something else.
Yes.
How did your parents take the fact that you you dived into something else?
Okay, my parents didn't take it well, and I would not lie to you. My parents didn't understand until last year.
Oh.
My parents still thought I was joking. Okay, so throughout university, I studied accounting in university. But by the time I left university, my dad kept asking me, "What will you do?" And I didn't have an answer, because at the time I didn't know graphic design was anything lucrative. I thought it was just for churches and their banners, and that was it, right? So I didn't have an answer for him, but I kept doing it because I found a certain love. I found a certain conviction in it. So I continued with it, but I struggled to explain to them, making them understand. So how God will help me, I came to serve in River State. So it was like I was very far away from home. So it was like, well, it's what I tell them they will believe. They can't force me to. So I was here, and I told them I was going to stay here because I want to pursue this. They still don't understand, but they agreed because I was here. First of all, this time they cannot come and carry me from here. So, so right here, I started making friends, started doing it. And it was not until last year when I told my dad I worked for a foreign company. You know, I told him, a company in the USA called me. We did this together. We worked on this project. This is what I did and all that. Was when they started asking questions, and wasn't they had the level of understanding and belief in what I was doing. So my parents didn't take it well. Their parents weren't accountants as a son, and that wasn't going to be me. But right now my parents understand a bit, not fully. We understand a bit, and since they said I've been able to build a life with it, a comfortable life with it. So they feel, okay, so if you've been able to build a life with it, then we believe it works.
Okay, so let's talk about what it takes to get on board. Now, you were in university, but I'm also aware that even now, children do graphics.
Yes.
Primary school children, secondary school children. So what does it take? What formal, do you need formal, informal? Because I'm also aware that some people get BSc and master's degree in graphic design.
Yes.
And sometimes some of these companies like to hire such people. But that's one question. The second one I want to ask you is this: originality in your sphere. How do you remain original? Because there are many designs out there, from the texts to the design, the style. How do you, Oluwatobi, remain original?
Okay, so start with the first one. You really do not need a formal education to enter into graphic design.
Okay.
So it gets along the line where you want to pursue professionally. There's some level of knowledge that might not be available to you without formal education. So having a BSc, having a master's degree in graphic design is good, but to start out you don't need it. To start out, what you need is a very good understanding of what design is, the elements and the principles. If you can understand this through what design is, the elements of design, the principles of design, if you understand these three and start to apply them, that is basically what you need. Because we have there are places where before you get to organizations, you might have to work for maybe your family, your friend, your father's church, your campus, and you put these things to work, and the results are awesome, are beautiful for them. It gets people to come in through the door, and sometimes some organizations bring that in, but because of the sophisticated level of some companies, they want you to have the paper, they want you to have the deeper knowledge, the rust in knowledge, so then you can go for a master's degree to deepen your knowledge. Yes, you can advise you go for it, but to start out, I advise you do not go for any formal education. Just have the understanding of what design is, elements and principles, and start to act on those. And also start to look at what people have done. And that will lead me to the second question: originality. To be honest, I tell people a lot whenever I get to speak that there's nothing new under the sun. So there's nothing you're going to do that no one has not done. But what makes it new is the version of you in it. But I tell people that if I call 10 persons, give them a piece of paper, ask them to draw. If I describe something to them, I describe it and I ask them to draw it out. What they will do at the end of the day, the result might be different. Now, the difference in those results is their personality. So originality comes from you bringing your person, your understanding, your exposure. Because three things makes every human being: education, exposure, and experience. So if you bring these things into what you do, then it becomes your original. Right? Because it would be a fallacy thinking you can do something that has never been done before. There's nothing under the sun. But you can do something in a way that has not been done before. I usually give an example of communication. Back in the days, it was pigeons. Tie paper on the pigeon and the pigeon will fly. That was communication. Then we started having fax. Then from fax, we started having telephones. So it is still the same communication. It is still the same solution. But it is being done in different ways. Now I have my phone. I have an email. I can send it. So the person who created that email did not do anything new, but did it in a new way. So basically, originality, bringing your experience, your exposure, your education, bringing you into what you do. That difference is originality.
Okay, that's good. You explained it very well. So let's talk about what advice do you have to give someone who's trying to build a portfolio? Any key projects, any type of work to focus on?
So for someone building a portfolio, there's been this argument that has been going on for ages: generalization and specialization. And that comes to play when you're building a portfolio. So when you're building a portfolio is basically a showcase of your work, putting your works together and whether a website or PDF or whatever it is. So for someone building a portfolio, this is what I would advise. I would advise you, first off, focus on one area, right? Focus on one area in case you do, because the Nigerian setting, designers do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 genres together, to be able to increase your own individual value. So building a portfolio, I like to focus on your best area. You should have a specialty. If you are doing 4 things, like I'm a brand and communication designer, and I also do packaging design, I also do publication design, but my specialty, my core, is brand and communication. So if I meet anybody, that's what I tell them I do. So in your portfolio, you have to find your specialty and put it first, and also put in your best works first, right? Your best works, the best things you've done. Now, I always advise popularity, right, over beauty. So if you work for, say, 3 clients, but one of them is more popular than the others, let that lead, right? Because we know generally people like to associate with you when you work for someone they know. So if you work for an organization that people know, it's easier to believe you. So if you work for an organization of all of them are the most popular, but if you work for organizations that are not really popular, just putting your best works first. It's more like putting your best foot forward. And as if you're putting your portfolio beyond the works you've done, there should be a little description about who you are and your process. Because how you do things, what you go through to do things, is in most cases more important than it defines what you do. So the value in what you do comes in how you do them, the process it takes you to achieve the result. So put a little bio about you, put a little of your process, then put your best works first, starting with your area of specialty. Then if you want to, if you may, you can then go to the other genres that you play in and that you work.
Let's talk about genres slash strong, let's say small umbrellas under the big umbrella graphic design.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, from your own experience, which other sub-genres exist under? You've talked about yours, which is brand and communication design. So which other ones exist?
So we have typography design. Now that's the design of typefaces, fonts. Fonts basically.
People design that one.
Yes, people design fonts. Yes. So we have environmental designs. Your street signs, your road signs. When you get to the airport or any time, those signs, you turn left, toilet. Those are environmental designs. We have we have event branding. Right, event branding came in. It came in as a word about say 4 years ago, thereabout. That's and we see that when people have events where you do several designs, posters, just to beautify the location of the event, the red carpet and all that. So we have environmental design. That's 3. Then we have publication design. So design of book covers, book layouts, book formatting, magazines, brochures. Those are publication design. Then we have product package design. Package design has existed for a very long time. So packaging all this. The packs for all the products, so that's product
biscuits,
biscuits, sachets.
That's another form of.
Yes, that's enough for years. You have people focus on niche on that alone. So you have packaging design. Then communication design is a very professional word for marketing and social media design. So that's the professional word. So when communication design is marketing design, social media design, print designs, those flyer designs, all those fall under communication design. Then brand design in itself is another umbrella under the umbrella of graphic design. Graphic design is both an industry and a skill in itself. Then brand design has to do with the most popular word under brand design is the logo design. So the logo is the most important word under brand design. But brand design goes beyond.
Are there people who just focus on making logos for people? That's all they do?
Yes, there are people who just focus on. They're just logo designers. That's all they do.
And they earn a lot of money.
They do, yeah, they do earn a lot of money. Even in Nigeria, they do.
Okay. So do you like the way photographers are? Photographers I hear own their photographs.
Yeah.
Do you own your designs?
Yes, I own my designs. So the contract I sent to the client, there's a part of that contract that says that I can use this design for marketing purpose and for proof of work. Right.
Okay.
So the client also has a right to the design, but the design it's more like a shared property. Right. You have to use for business purpose. I have to use for proof of work and to market myself. So yes, so I own. So but basically, I own what I do. If the client wants exclusive rights, then we can have that agreed. And once I give it to them, that's where NDA comes in. So when you sign an NDA with the brand, most times in the NDA document, some documents contain that you can't talk about when you were done, but some contain that you cannot use it for proof of work. You do it for us, you give it to us. That is the end of it. Okay. So, but if that except in that case, I own what I do.
So it means the average graphic designer has to have some form of legal education to know the legal angle of things.
Yes.
So that he or she doesn't just create things and then the guy runs away with it.
Yes, we've had issues of graphic designer who have been charged with breaching copywriting laws, right? Where you see someone's logo and you pick it happens you pick the person's logo and just change the colors, but it's looking exactly the same. Right? I think it was about maybe 3 years ago. My cousin is an architect. Went into a business. He showed me his logo, and I told him I've seen it in 5 different places. The same thing, same color, same everything. Yeah. So yes, designers to have a little bit of legal education to be able to be on the safe side of the law when doing their craft.
Okay, thank you very much, Oluwatobi Olushola, brand and communication designer. Thank you very much for sharing this thought with us and your thoughts with us. And I'm hearing now that you guys get jobs abroad, even from Nigeria.
Yes, we do.
And they pay you guys in dollars.
Yes.
Hallelujah to that. Thank you very much for your time, for being part of today's edition.
Thank you for having me.
Of the STARTITUP show. And that's pretty much it this morning.